Hello.
Bonjour.
I've got to find a better way to start. Good old-fashioned hiya.
I think a chuckle's pretty good.
Yeah, probably. That's how we generally start, with a chuckle and chuckles in between. Though I'm really conscious maybe there weren't so many chuckles in the last one. We were not giving the Chuckle Brothers a run for their money, for sure. And we are, though, going to continue from last week, aren't we? Because last week we were talking about our window of tolerance. This week, and for anyone that's listening, you will be very aware that we do record more than one at a time. Particularly if you watch us on YouTube and we don't do that thing that we could do, which is where we go and change our outfits.
I don't know what you mean. My hair's changed.
Yeah, I've put my
Different.
lipstick back on, and everything else. Yeah, I've got my red on because I'm like that. Yeah, and why not? So this week though, we did say we're going to talk about capacity. Yeah. So just before we talk about capacity though, I'd like to share a little story, and it is a one that I have shared online, and I have also shared it. I think I might have shared it before, but I want to connect it to capacity today. And it is the story about me going to university when I was doing my counselling degree. And the one night that it stands out, and I say night, I used to go to uni, I used to leave about 5:30. So I can remember it being sunny, and we had one of those kitchen dining rooms that led into each other. So we had a big table, didn't we, with six chairs around it for us all. And that day I can remember, and it was always the same on a Monday, I would race around getting everything sorted. You know, I'd make sure everything was tidy. I had to make sure that I was prepped and ready for going to uni. I had cooked the tea. I'm northern, it's tea, not dinner. I'd cooked the tea, I'd got everything ready, and I can remember physically. It's fascinating when you have these memories of, you know, being like quite like, right, I'm knackered, but I'm ready to go to uni, and you guys were all sat at the table. God love you, and eating. And I remember standing in the kitchen. I'm about to go out the door, and I just looked at you all and I went, right, has everybody got what they need? Is everything done? And I'm looking at your dad, and I'm looking at you guys, and God love you, y'all just kind of looked at me, nodding like, yeah, all right, mum. But in my head, it was like, oh my God, it's not safe for me to leave. I realise this now. It's not safe for me to leave unless you've all got what you need, because this is who I am. I am the strong one. I am the one that keeps everything together. Yeah. It's me that carries that bit.
Back then,
Yeah.
because that was before any of this,
Yeah.
before knowing what this meant, what did that feel like in your body? Because it won't have showed up as, I'm unsafe.
No.
I'm unsafe to leave. So if you put yourself in that situation, what did it sound like in your head to be stood there and looking at us like, has everyone got what they need?
I was just thinking about it because I could feel the one, like a tightness in me, like a holding it all together, like, you know, like when you hold your breath. I've noticed that's been a pattern of mine. When I'm not meeting my own needs and I'm worrying about everybody else.
Squeezy Louisa.
Squeezy Louisa, and also so it happens in my shoulders. So fear tends to be Squeezy Louisa in my solar plexus area, bottom of my ribs. This one also though is the holding together in the top area. So I'm holding just towards the top area of my chest, where my clavicle and bones are, into where my throat is, holding it in, but also this experience of feeling a bit wired, like a bit buzzy inside of me, like, have I got everything? Like you know, best way to describe it, if you haven't seen Inside Out 2, just go and Google a clip to find anxiety and what she looks like.
Moving around
And
really fast.
like, yeah, and like
flitty.
literally. And I can feel that even as I'm talking to you, like, I've got to go, but, and I'm literally in that moment, I can realise now, and this is the beauty, isn't it, with being able to learn things and understand it, that was a perfect example of how much capacity I'd poured into all of you guys and wasn't doing anything for me. Yeah. So it was like I needed to make sure everybody else was sorted, everything else was clean and tidy, because, you know, God forbid that I should have got anything wrong and that I'd come home to, and this paint, she dad like this bad person. He wasn't this person, but in my head I needed to make sure, and there will have been clues and things that, you know, little comments about maybe I hadn't done this or that hadn't been sorted or we'd not got things ready. So it's not all in me. It's about my environment as well. But part of me, this learned behavior of it's all my job to do all of this. So I literally, that capacity that I had was poured into everybody else. And it wasn't until I remember being sat in the class, we were halfway through when it literally just hit me that I just asked for permission to leave. And a big thing about that is massive. It's like when I think about asking permission, what it costs me, it costs me that capacity loss, really. It's like I can't go and do what I want to do until I've got everything sorted for you. That's what asking for permission to live cost me. Like, I'm not allowed to put my own needs first, and I didn't. And in fact, the one time that I really began to was running. And I know that I did that for myself. And just to say to other people, it's, it isn't just the moment that you ask for permission. It is noticing what it costs you. Justifying your needs. Checking everybody else is okay before you take anything for yourself. I did that with food. I don't know if you guys remember this. We would walk in from being somewhere. We'd maybe gone out for the day, or we'd had to go somewhere after school. So we'd it'd be me and Dad. We'd pick you up, and Dad would literally walk in and start making himself something to eat. And before I ate, I'd made sure you'd all eaten.
Yeah, I do that now.
Yeah, exactly. But that's like, so again, it's that whole thing. Come back to what we were saying last time about the putting ourselves last. These small invisible ways in which we don't show up for ourselves. And I understand that with the kids. I do get that, actually,
but
it's the whole bit about everybody's tired. But
if it was 80-20, this is what I'm working on this week with the Stigler. I'm working on the 80-20. If the 20% is, it is fair, feed them first because they're kids, and then I get to really focus on my dinner too.
Yeah.
But the other bit, the bit that could be good enough, is that I don't have to give him the best strawberries. I don't have to sacrifice the one banana when he actually likes oranges and I don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like
completely.
and
Even that word,
the nice strawberries one.
You've just
the sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's like it is this thing, and I I absolutely get the whole thing about being there to serve other people and to want to really kind of be in a community and connect and support people. I have always had a really big thing about that word, though, even as I said it then, to serve other people, had a big thing about how that feels inside of my body. And I think it's because I learned as a little girl that the best way to stay safe was by making sure I noticed what everybody else needed and was of service to them before I did it for me. And I think it connects to the reason why when we go on holiday, actually you said it in the last episode, that we feel this sense of freedom, and it's because we're not
of service to anyone else.
Yeah, we're not needing that. And it's this big thing about, and I just would like people to consider for a moment it's okay if that was a one-off. If that was a one-off for that day, I'm going to uni, and for that day I've just, I've thought, what does everybody else need? And I've kind of poured myself into everybody else and what they need before, and put myself last, and then ask for permission to leave. But it's when it's every single day. And how many of us have lived like that, making yourself small enough to be, allowed to live and do these things, because that's the other thing that we do. It's just imagining what that must cost you week in, week out. What about when you've done that for a decade, 2 decades, 3, 4? How many women have got to the point that I'd got to in midlife where you're suddenly like, but what do I need? I don't even know what I need. I don't even know what matters to me. I don't even know, like, how come I've ended up in this place with chronic pain, with feeling rubbish, and not noticing these ways in which we've not been able to show up for ourselves. Because it's that, is it? And this is not adding to a list of you're not showing up for yourself. It's not that. It's just noticing, isn't it? Quietly, like, hang on a second, where the hell do I come last in all of these things? Where am I giving to everybody else and not refilling? Because actually, there's the beauty of it is I do like helping people. I do like helping people. I love being. And when we were at a barbecue this weekend, one of my first questions was, in what way can I help? You know, because I understand what it's like to be the one. I used to do it. Like, no, don't help. Go and sit down. Then feel a bit resentful later when everybody was sat down enjoying themselves and I was still doing the dishes. And it's like, it's that. So I'm like, no, I don't want people to have to feel that way. You know, in what way can I help? But actually, how often do we do that? And just to explain it, capacity is simply what you have available at any given moment to meet the demands of your life. And if you think about capacity being in a jug, so if you were that jug, everything pours from that jug. Yeah. So your capacity, your work, your relationships, parenting, caring responsibilities, emotional labour, thinking, planning, managing, holding. And everything that goes on around us either refills it or depletes it further. I mean, what hits your head when I say that? What do you feel like when you hear it?
Honestly,
of
I suppose that it's common sense, but just because it's common sense doesn't mean it's common.
it's common. I like that actually.
Like,
And it's funny because I've written something down on here because one of the things I've been talking about a lot is about being the strong one. You know, the one that kind of does for everybody else. And often that's where we constantly pour, but we never adequately refill. We never put anything back in. And then you hit a point where you just feel empty. Like I've got nothing else to give. And then we wonder why we can't cope, why things feel enormous, and why we just feel exhausted. You know, you started the week off on Monday, and by Tuesday you're like, I'm done. Is the week finished yet?
It's a hard week. Monday 3 p.m.
Yeah, Monday 4 p.m. Is this the weekend, please? And that's because your jug was empty before the week even started. Because our weekends are now not times to refill. There's consistent doing and needing to be moving and all of this stuff, and we just don't refill. And there's just to add then, just to consider this and bearing in mind where you've been in terms of, you know, illness and things that have been happening to you, what deletes capacity? So there are the obvious things: overwork, poor sleep, illness, financial stress, relationship conflict. But then there's the invisible things. Ready? So emotional labour, right? So the constant monitoring of everyone else's emotional state. And I know that I've done that for a lot of time in my life. Knowing before anyone else does that your partner's in the mood, that your child's struggling, that the atmosphere needs managing.
Okay, so we literally just had a conversation before we started this podcast about that.
We did. Adjusting yourself accordingly, because that's the bit automatically. No one's asked you to do it, and no one thanks you for doing it. But what you do is it's literally you just notice it before it's happened, so that you can fix it. Yeah. So the mental load, so the invisible architecture of family and household life that lives entirely in one person's head.
Dentist appointments, shoe sizes, recognizing that the house is getting dirty and needs cleaning.
Can you say how this links to the window of tolerance? Because we mentioned some of this last week. And this whole bit, you know, the noticing when the shampoo's running out.
Yeah.
Who notices those things? You know, I need to get this because we've almost run out of that. The never being fully off duty.
Yeah. It's really interesting actually for me to be talking about this today because so I'm redoing the positive intelligence program at the minute, but from with the purpose of becoming a coach in it. And obviously you know that was for their perspective.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what. And this week we're doing the accomplice saboteurs. And my accomplice saboteurs are obviously stickler and hyperachiever. And they are the two that I most struggle with and have most struggled with.
And stickler's perfectionism, isn't it?
Stickler is perfectionism and needing everything to be perfect. And hyperachiever is I won't be happy until I reach the goal. So not enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
Only missing the good stuff that's happening now in pursuit of whatever's coming. And today I'm focusing on the stickler. And do you know what it is? To celebrate myself a little bit. To have read through this and to know I did this 3 years ago when we first started, and to see the difference in me. So even well, yeah, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when we moved in to this house, I would clean obsessively. Like, and obviously I know where that window of tolerance came from. I know where that capacity came from.
We do.
But if I perceive there to be dust on the base, like I was cleaning the baseboards 2 or 3 times a week on top of the normal cleaning. And like the bathroom, I saw it this morning and looked at the dust and was like, oh, okay, the bathroom needs cleaning. But even to recognise for myself that my brain automatically went, yeah, it doesn't, that's not important today. Because my brain was like, yeah, it does need cleaning, I can see it. That doesn't go away. But like I can picture it right now, there's hair bubbles on the side, Dave's deodorant wasn't put away, my face cloth needs washing, there's dust kind of thing. There's a little ring from Arlo's toothbrush because he's got a little electric one. Like I can see it all. And my brain was like, right, okay, but today we've got a podcast and we're poorly. So it's not happening today.
Yeah.
But 2 years ago, there would have been a voice in my head that physically would have been like, that has to happen.
Yeah.
That has to happen. It's non-negotiable. So I would have gone home this afternoon, got on my hands and knees, scrubbed the bathroom, and then felt shit. Because in my head I'd have been like, well, if I do not do it, who's going to do it? No one's going to do it if I'm not doing it. But the lie wasn't that, because that is true. Dave's, I don't think he's ever cleaned a bathroom in his fucking life. That is true if no one, but also the lie is that it has to be done now. And recognising that, I'm starting to realise where I've been telling myself the lie of the capacity, being like, well, if I don't do it, no one will. Being the answer to me having to pour consistently from an empty jug. And I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true. Yeah, as you said that, can I add something as well that when you were talking, is the safety of leaving that. And that whole threat detection, and so that came from a particular incident. And when you were talking there, what popped up for me was being a little girl, and that it wasn't safe to not clean.
Yeah.
So I know that your nana experienced a lot of difficult things, and that she struggled with a lot of stuff that we now learn about, and wasn't able to, one, have the understanding, or two, be able to get the support with it in that way. And as a little girl, for me, I learnt to be the strong one there, because I learnt to do the emotional labour and notice the mood. So I would be the one that would make the coffee before she woke up and have it waiting for her, because actually if I'd made a coffee and I'd cleaned the house, she would be far less likely to be in a bad mood, and more likely to like me, which was interesting because she was my mum, and I know that because of what she struggled with, that would have meant that she struggled to get up in the morning and be in an okay and be regulated. She was probably already out of a window, just from everything that was going on, and that whole taking on that responsibility. So for you to be able to notice it and actually to be able to have that conversation with yourself now is brilliant, isn't it? It's like it's not all my responsibility, but as you've said, it takes practice, and still takes. And I was
and out of my window of tolerance.
Yeah.
If I was, I don't know, arguing, or maybe I was like in an endometriosis flare or something, that thought might come back. It's not gone.
No.
And I might not even notice it, because I found myself when I'm poorly cleaning. It's like the poorer I get, the less likely I can be kind to myself and go, that doesn't need to happen right now.
Yeah. That's such a fascinating, as you said it, I can see myself doing that years ago. Not anymore. Definitely not anymore. But it is that. It's like, it's what feels safe.
But situations change as well, isn't it? Because I think it's just really interesting, I think, for a lot of people. And it's something that I see You know, for people who've been in abusive relationships and their body is wired to perceive certain behaviours as unsafe because they were. And then you get out of it and you still react to those behaviours in the same way. And that can be quite hurtful for the people to be like, well, I would never hit you. Do you know what I mean? But actually, you can't control that. Like, it takes a long time of noticing and practicing and learning and being shown you can trust. So, like, for me, I'm lucky that Dave wouldn't have a fucking clue if the bathroom was cleaned or not. Like, he just wouldn't notice. So for me, it's safe to leave it because it wouldn't matter. Like, he's not going to comment on it. He wouldn't notice it if it was clean or not. But for someone whose husband might be like, bathroom's dirty, it's a very different situation. It's a very, like, it's why this is all so personal, isn't it?
Yes, it is so personal. I as you were talking, there was an example popped into my head. So my first marriage,
To my father.
Yeah, he abandoned us quite often. He would just leave and not be there. And I know we've talked about this. And
I don't think we've talked about it on here, actually.
No, we haven't. And he would go away with his friend. And, you know, I'd just be left. You were very tiny, actually, when it happened. And I can really remember that feeling, you know, unsafe, not sure what was going to go on. We didn't have a lot of money at the time. You and Dan were only tiny. And yet it was interesting then, just as you were talking, because what I could see was, as I obviously then, you know, met your future father,
Daddy,
as we call him, and I met my dad that I've been with for 30 odd years. Every single time he went away with the lads, I had a meltdown. And the fear, the abandonment, what I thought was going to happen, the fact he was going to leave me, and you know, I mean, God love him, it's 31 years, he's still coming back.
He's still back.
But my system was used to that was a threat. I did not feel safe at all.
The first time we brought Arlo to Nottingham to visit you when we still lived in Middlesbrough, I don't know if you remember, but we went to the diner in the Victoria Centre in Nottingham.
Yeah.
And Arlo did giant shit.
As babies do.
As babies do. And Dave, being the dad that he is, he's always been involved, all that kind of stuff, was like, I'll go. There's a family changing room, I'll go change him. And he picked Arlo up, picked his bag up and walked off to change him. And I felt like I'd been run over by a bus.
Yeah, I do remember that.
The panic attack I had, and it, like, that he just wasn't going to come back. And it was the first time that happened, where he's left. And he'd only gone 100 metres across the way, but in my head, I was like, he's never going to come back. That will be the last time I ever see my baby. And it was you talk about it a lot in your work, the stories of your nervous system. Well, my nervous system had never been in a place to recognise that story since being a kid. And that was the first time that my nervous system was like, the alarm was going off, and it was like, this is it, the abandonment's come, we knew it was coming, it, like, shut down all systems. And I completely, and I still get it. When he goes, I'm really lucky that he takes our son to visit his grandparents in York a lot. So I get quite a lot of space to myself because I have two dogs that need watching. But it's lovely. It means that I get quite a lot of time to, respectively, compared to a lot of mothers. I acknowledge that privilege. And there's always a moment for me in that first sort of couple of hours, possibly while they're travelling, where it slaps me in the face. And I can recognise it now and I don't go into panic. But one of the first times he did it and took him away, I spent the whole time in bed. Like, I just couldn't process them being away. Like,
and for clarification for anybody, because maybe we've not spoken about this before, that's because actually you and I experienced that when you were very little.
Yeah.
The experience of you being taken by your dad.
Yeah.
Your first your actual dad, and us not seeing you, me not seeing you
Yeah,
for
almost
over
3 months.
almost 3 months, um, because of the logistics of you being in Scotland. Um,
When I was younger, I used to really hate that people would call it being kidnapped because I was always like, can't be kidnapped by my own dad. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. And it wasn't, I didn't mean it as a judgment against you or the situation or anything, but I never understood the word. Then I had Arlo and that situation when Dave Wet took him. And my brain was like,
the
what
fear
if
of
he
it
never
happening.
brings him back? That that was the first time I remember having that overwhelming compassion for you in that moment of that was fucking kidnap. Like that was straight up kidnap. And I do have memories of it, of being, because I was almost 3. Like I'm pretty sure, wasn't I?
Yeah,
Almost 3.
you weren't far off 3.
And I don't have huge amounts of memories because obviously it was a very long time ago. But like I've this memory of being in this caravan and this overwhelming sense of not wanting to be there, desperately wanting to go home.
Yeah, it's a story maybe for another day to fully go into.
Yeah.
What we experienced, and the things that I've gone through to deal with that, since then, and
And
we've
why
worked
this
through.
work's so fucking important to us.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing, actually. I feel like we've come off a little bit from capacity, but we'll come back to it. I think it is that understanding for me, and maybe being in a position to start to share some of the reasons why this all does matter so much to us, and why I do feel like we're on a mission to change how people see themselves and understand that there's nothing wrong with them and you don't need fixing, you're not broken. And actually, where restoration came from, it's restoring this capacity, this window of tolerance, this way of being able to work with your body and your mind that means you can see what's possible, rather than feeling trapped by it all and like there's something wrong with you, because there isn't. There's a lot that our experiences have done to us and a lot that our environment does, and being able to see that differently as well. So yeah, that. And I think it's funny because I've got something here, because even looking at that, taking on emotional weight that was never yours to carry, that for me feels like a part of that, for you, in that sense. And being able to, because actually putting yourself last, not acknowledging it's okay to feel like that, and to feel, you know stressed from that situation, whereas actually I feel that's really started to change for you, in terms of the way that you work with yourself. And one of the things there is about unprocessed emotion, so being able to sit with it and understand that, maybe there was some grief in that with what you experienced, there was some anger, in that, because you've just expressed it there. The thing was, you didn't ever call it kidnapping till you experienced what you did with Arlo and how you felt about it. So all of that kind of stays with us, until we get a chance to deal with it. And then hypervigilance, constantly scanning, which again comes from these experiences that we've had. Constant low level scanning for threat that comes with anxiety, trauma history, or simply be years of being the one who has to notice everything before it goes wrong. I think that's the thing, because often people think it has to be these major traumas, but if you're the person who's always had to take notice, and I think that's what I tried to do as a little girl, was my dad. He's the best guy ever. The dementia's a gift for robbing him of his brain and for robbing us of him. Here's the thing though, he loved work. He loved work, and he would work a double shift. My mum wouldn't know anything about it, and she'd just get a phone call, and he was working a double shift. So she was left alone a lot of the time. And because she had the struggles that she had, I can see where I began to constantly look, and look at what was needed, notice things before stuff would go wrong, so that I could protect her. And it wasn't, I know now it wasn't my job to do that, but I learned that. That's where becoming this strong one, becoming this one that, is constantly, as it says, scanning for threat, managing other people's emotions. How do I protect her? How do I protect my sister? That's the kind of thing that happens. And I think particularly for women in midlife, or even men, because I'm not going to say it's just women, but it's primarily my experience of women is it's this accumulation of all of that literally takes from us. It's not one thing, it's all of these things that come together and compound it. And then when we don't get adequate rest or restoration or acknowledgement of it, like no one else saying to you, my God, you did a lot. You took responsibility for everything.
Mm.
And I think that's such a big thing, that whole level. And then, add the menopause on top of it, which, we can both sit with, because estrogen plays a significant role in emotional regulation, stress response, sleep quality, and cognitive function. So as our levels of estrogen fluctuate and decline, all of those are affected simultaneously, which means that your capacity, which already potentially is depleted by years of being the strong one, takes an additional hit precisely at the life stage when you're also dealing with aging parents that need care, children leaving or returning, relationship shifts, career questioning, and identity reassessment. I know. If you're not watching YouTube, right, Lauren's face, she's doing that face where her nostrils have widened, her mouth is like, this is not a smile. It's kind of like, right, you bitch. Because it is a cruel time. It feels like such cruel timing for many women, because it's like,
I need to get HRT this week.
yeah, you do. And I have said that to you because I can hear the things that you're telling me, and I'm like,
I know. And this is a good time to talk about the fact that I'm struggling to call the doctor because he made a comment that it was useful to try and get through this period of time. Because what I'm going through, I don't want to say prove, but I'm basically trying to prove that I can survive menopause. So they'll take my uterus and my ovaries. And I've got this massive fear that if I need HRT, they won't let me have it. I don't think that's true.
no.
I can feel the emotion into that.
Yeah.
But I can feel that I'm afraid that if I say this is hard and I'm struggling, actually, I've never had acne in my life, but I've got this cystic acne that's so painful. I'm exhausted. I'm not sleeping. My memory's shit. Like there's so many things. I'm terrified that if I say that to him, he's going to be like, well, there's no way we're going to have to take you off all of this. You'll have to just go back to dealing with the pain and wanting to die. And I feel like a different person. All of those things are hard, but I would not trade them.
To go back.
I would not trade them for what I was going through before.
No, definitely not.
No. But I'm also struggling with vertigo. I've constantly got a low level amount of vertigo.
Yeah.
And that's a symptom of it as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I have to ring him. I don't want to. Yeah. So, good time to call me accountable, I suppose.
But also to understand what's going on with that, and the lack of safety that you feel for the future, but also right now.
Yeah.
You said there about surviving.
Mm. Yeah, that's what this is. It is what it feels like a little bit. Do what it is.
What do you need?
I think actually, if I was going to be honest with it, I could do with someone maybe body doubling me, even if it was not physically. Like maybe Tuesday morning, maybe tomorrow morning, we chat and you go, right, we're going to get off the phone. You're going to ring them. I'm going to call back in an hour. And I'd like to know that you've rang them.
We can do that.
That accountability.
Buddy.
Yeah, so that
tomorrow.
when the saboteur comes up that goes, you're not going to get the help that you need.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it. At least there's because interestingly, the rational part of me knows he said, regardless of what happens, I have to start HRT at the 6-month mark.
No, I remember.
Because my body will not manage without it.
And also, you were just saying about how long that you've dealt with this. This has been what? Are we almost halfway now?
Oh, I am halfway.
Yeah.
So Tuesday next week, when you listen to this, I'll have passed it. Tuesday next week will be the 4th injection, which means I've come to the end of the 3 months and I'm starting the second 3 months. So I've managed 3 whole months.
He asked you to trust yourself.
Yeah, I know he did. And he's really nice as well.
Exactly.
I think my experience of medical professionals is not the greatest. So it's hard to trust that they're not just going to gaslight me and go, well, you're just full of shit.
And bearing in mind what you've just said, you're actually, you've poured a lot of yourself into things. There's a lot going on when we think about capacity.
Yeah.
So your window of tolerance, so with these two are connected, which means then that your window of tolerance feels a little bit narrower with all of this going on. So then you end up in hyperarousal. Or hypoarousal, what's the point? So it's like, actually, which one?
Yeah, actually, I think that possibly flip between the two.
Yeah.
Which is tricky.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's really interesting, isn't it, with all of this? Because, when we think about one of the biggest things about this, what I've just said there is about we don't get adequately restored. And feel like we're resting. Something that you said that a little bit earlier it was in the previous episode, was about having the drink and the emotions and feeling flat. Because most people I speak to, when they stop, they're not restoring. What they're doing is numbing.
Yeah, so doom scrolling, drinking,
staying busy in a different way,
binging Netflix.
Yeah. Anything that creates a sensation of switching off without actually allowing the nervous system to process and restore.
Yeah.
So we don't let ourselves cry. That big part of we don't let ourselves cry, or we don't let ourselves get angry, or we don't let ourselves just even acknowledging it. We don't want to stay in it, but we need to process it and understand it. Because true rest happens in safety. It's active, not passive. It's the nervous system being given enough safety to actually process what it's been holding. And we numb when we're overwhelmed.
Holy shit, the morning pages are so fucking valuable.
It is.
Because that's exactly what we're getting from it, is we're getting 30 minutes where we're not giving our brains anything new to deal with. All we're doing is safely, because no one will ever read them apart from ourselves. No one will ever read them. And you don't have to. I haven't read mine.
No, I've just done that, didn't I? Yes.
No, I'm just saying that I still haven't read mine.
Yeah. But it's true. And it's this. And again, just even anyone that's listening now, it's asking yourself, what's the difference? So if you were, and you can do this like immediately, if you go and do something, did it restore you or did it numb you? So for me, I know for a fact if I pick my phone up, on a night time, because I can feel it. Maybe there's something I need to deal with, but I'm just ignoring it because I'm out of my window of tolerance. I'm feeling like, what's the point? Blah, 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 all of that.
Or even out of habit.
Out of habit. And then, so I don't allow a bit of space for me to write in my journal. I wrote in my journal last night. It's really interesting. I sat and I wrote in my journal. In fact, when you think about capacity, we've had family all weekend. It's been absolutely glorious. And I've poured a lot into a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And yesterday afternoon, I went and sat in the garden. I was writing my journal because I knew there was some stuff I wanted to think about, and with this week coming up. And then I got that message that told me that I was a victim of fraud on my account. And I went straight into panic and anxiety, but I rang, I dealt with it. And that whole bit, because that next bit that I needed to do was not process that, because it was fascinating, because the woman on the phone was lovely at the bank and said to me, how are you today? And I went, I'm going to be really open. I'm not feeling great. I can feel the panic and the worry in me because of what's going on. And I was like, and actually I'm sat in the sunshine, so there's a part of me that's okay. How are you? And she said, thank you for acknowledging how you really feel and for asking me how I am. And then, so that really helped for me to be honest about it and to talk about it. And then I came off, I went back into the flat, I spoke to your dad about it, and I said to him, I'm not okay. And I actually gave myself a bit of a shake and allowed myself just to have a bit of movement in my body and just, I'm not okay. And then it's fascinating. I said that, and a little bit later I was. I didn't bottle it down. I didn't eat it because that's what I would have done. Swallow it down. So it's that whole refilling my capacity.
Yeah, I think there's a voice in a lot of people's heads, because it's definitely been in mine before, where it's like, if I admit to being something, it means I'm it forever. So, where if I say I'm sad, then I'm a sad person. If I say I'm angry, then I'm an angry person. And it's like you take on an identity by accepting these emotions exist. And I just think letting go of that's incredibly important.
Well, that's one of the things that and it's fascinating. I notice myself do it now. I notice that I'm feeling sad. not I
Yeah.
am sad. I
Yeah.
notice that I'm feeling angry.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Because it gives me a little bit of space. It's not me.
Yeah.
I'm noticing
There's a raccoon that's
it's
come in my
something-
house.
Yeah, something that's happening in that way. So let's just think about things that fill us up, our capacity. And these are just, again, thoughts, suggestions, could be invitations to notice for yourself, and notice for yourself what maybe are different things. So one is sleep.
Oh,
Okay, and I know that that's hard if you're a new parent, or you've got children that are really struggling, but it's the most powerful capacity restorer available, completely free. And when our sleep is disrupted, it really is an indicator that everything else is going to be harder. So worth protecting as much as you can.
it's very foundational.
Definitely movement that fits your current body. Yeah. So not punishment, not performance, gentle walking, especially outside.
Yeah.
Again, this whole thing that we talk about with nature, thank you, Beachy, the tree in the garden, and the other trees, because honestly, if I could just share with you the view from our window, the greens and the oranges and the colours are just absolutely beautiful. Trees, sky, open space. I love it, because I was looking at this stuff and I read something that said it's not woo, it's neuroscience. I like that. We'll have a bit of woo in neuroscience. I like that. So again, Emily and Amelia Nagoski.
We put the woo in neuroscience.
Neuroscience. If I've got their names wrong, I will absolutely make sure we've got that in the notes. They talk about completing the stress cycle. So you thought you were funny then, didn't you?
I did think
stress
I was funny.
hormones
I am
need
funny,
a
I didn't
physical
think.
completion, or they just keep circulating. Crying, walking, dancing, shaking. We've talked about all of these things. Laughing. All of these things that just help us. Any physical movement that signals to the body that the threat has passed and we're safe now. Connection, so that restores rather than depletes. So being with someone who doesn't need anything from you, that's a really great way to build capacity, where you can just be yourself rather than performing or managing or holding space for somebody else. Creative expression. So again, our writing that we're doing. You wrote a story yesterday. Knitting, painting, making anything, because the brain shifts into a different mode. The default mode network activates and processing happens without effort. So again, it can be that. Doing something that is purely, unashamedly yours. Not useful, not productive, not for anyone else, just for you. That's a great way to build capacity. And receiving. This is a biggie. In fact, in one of the weeks, right towards the end in Unlocking, we were talking about this. And I have definitely been somebody in my life who has struggled to ask for help. And oh no, don't worry. I said about it at the barbecue. Don't worry, you go take a seat. Rather than going, yeah, that'd be absolutely brilliant. Can you do blah? So receiving, allowing someone to care for you. Sitting with a compliment rather than deflecting it. Accepting help without immediately working out how to repay it. And that can be really hard if you've always had this persona of being the strong one, the one who needs to hold it all together. That is really important, though, because it's one of the most powerful ways to refill. Permission. I'm going to use this word again because I absolutely love it. Because really, this is what's underneath it. Most women with depleted capacity don't lack information about self-care. They lack permission. Permission to stop before everything is done, which, let's just point out, nothing ever gets done completely. Like, there'll always be something to do. Permission to have needs, real ones. Permission to refill the jug before it's completely empty rather than waiting for a crisis. Oh, hello, me. In my past. Permission to matter as much as the people they care for. What I've learned, and this is really important, and I think coming and doing Unlocking did it massively for me, is that nobody is going to give that permission from the outside. It's like, that's what I waited for. Permission for everybody else to tell me it was okay to live my life and be me. It has to come from the inside, which is the hardest and most important work of all, for sure. So when we think about being this person who holds it all together, is the strong one, and depleted capacity, they are so strongly connected. They really are, because what happens is we end up in an environment where our needs come last. We're being easy, helpful, and keeping things safe. That's what it was all about. If I'm helpful, if I'm easy, you'll want me around. So I feel safe in that environment. But what it does is really takes everything out of us, which is it's just really hard, isn't it? For sure. So yeah, I think it's not about doing it. Capacity isn't about doing more with less. It's about finally understanding that you were never supposed to run on empty. That you are worth filling. See yourself as a jug. What have you got in it? In fact, that would be a really good question to get you thinking about. You know, if you were to think about your capacity being like a jug within you, like at what level is yours at right now? And that actually you do matter enough to fill it. And not when everything else is done.
Yeah, not when everyone else's is.
Not when everybody else is okay.
There's a random thing that I would like to add, but please don't take, if you've grown up to be this person who does everything for everyone, and then you decide to, you know, learn to put yourself first and that kind of thing, please don't take other people's emotions about it as a sign whether it's right or wrong. Because I don't know if it was this episode or last episode, you talked about starting running, and that was finally when you put yourself first. When you first started running as a kid, I hated it.
I know you did. You told me.
Like, yeah, I remember being a kid and thinking it was really selfish, but it was because it was just so different for me. And logistically, if you'd done that since I was a kid, I wouldn't have thought it was selfish. I would have thought it was normal. But because the norm for me was seeing you put yourself last, when you then changed that, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I wasn't, because I was like little, but so yeah. And the same happened for me when I stopped cleaning the house as much. It was there was a bit of a sort of settling period for me and Dave where he was a bit like, oh, do I need to do it all? Like, and it was like, no, it's just I'm learning to not give so much. That I'm not asking for you to do what I was doing before.
This is
just think it's a really important thing that it's why this isn't some easy thing that you can just snap.
This is like a door on the handle moment where you want to continue the conversation, because actually this is what's changed in my life. That when I think with what you've just said, you know, as a married couple, growing up for me in a household where the woman did all of the emotional labour and she did all of the, you know, physical labour in the house, you know, and the man was the one that went out to work, and, you know, me and your dad kind of came with that together to then move into this life now where, you know,
both of you working.
Yeah, we both work separately and differently, which means that we tend to cook for. We don't cook
for yourselves. We
cook for ourselves. We do our own washing. And stuff like that. It is really interesting with that as well, but actually feeling safe to do that. Cool. Well, what an episode.
Yeah. If you've really enjoyed the last couple, you can speak to Mum more about your own capacity and your own window of tolerance by booking in for a 45-minute chat, a little free coaching sesh.
Yeah, this is what we talk about in the House of You. This is what we're doing. You know, we build foundations first. You know, we're looking all the way through at how we build your window of tolerance, but we're also looking at, you know, at the practices you get to do that. So
if you're thinking, oh, hang on, that might be me, you can have a no obligation chat with her.
Yeah.
And she's got space for some one-to-one clients. Well, actually, just one one-to-one client. So if you'd like to have that, have a look at the website.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop talking now.
Take care.
Bye.